Indonesia is set to become the first nation to deploy troops into Gaza as part of the US's coordinated peacekeeping mission under President Trump's post-war plan for Gaza. No details on the Riviera yet, no hotels, no beachside resorts just yet. Let's just build some houses first. Yeah, okay. Now, you spent the last 2 years arming, funding, providing diplomatic cover for the nation that committed the unspeakable crimes, indescribable crimes in Gaza. I'm talking about America providing this support. Now it only makes sense. It only makes sense in this topsy-turvy world that they rely upon you for the protection now. If that's not a toxic relationship that you just cannot get out of, I don't know what is. Israel's Khan public broadcaster reports several thousand Indonesian soldiers are expected to arrive in just the next few weeks, with bases planned for Rafah in the south of Gaza. There's no confirmation of the exact deployment date yet. This was just reported by basically Israeli outlets, which is a bit mad if you think about it. Now, back in November, Indonesia's defense minister announced the country had trained around 20,000 troops, focusing specifically on healthcare and construction tasks rather than, fighting, because they don't actually want to fight either side. The point is it will be a stabilization force, right? And that might mean reconstruction. That might mean providing healthcare to those who desperately need it. And someone, who knows who? It could have been anyone. Someone flattened all the hospitals in Gaza. Who would have thunk it? So you actually need to train military medics, basically, Hacksaw Ridge style, to get in there and sort of take care of the people, not for a combat role. The deployment is part of the International Stabilization Force, as I mentioned, the UN-mandated mission to oversee Gaza's demilitarization and stabilization, train Palestinian police to be security forces that keep peace in besieged Gaza. Right now, major questions are remaining unanswered, but you can come to me for the analysis and the news, of course, unbiased, largely unbiased. Now, which other countries will follow Indonesia's lead? That's the question, and a bigger question is, will Indonesia actually get a chance to act? Is this actually going to happen? Right? What happens if this does happen, and then the Indonesian soldiers are standing there, and then Palestinian resistance forces sort of step out of a tunnel? What's going to happen? They're going to salam each other, get some autographs. What's going to happen? Like, loads of people want to know, right? The world's largest Muslim majority nation, Indonesia, fun fact, not many people know, generally is not one to make headlines. They're quite low-key, right? They grow quietly. They're on the, Sigma ASEAN grind set. They're getting hench without people really paying attention. They look like they're quietly stepping into Gaza, it seems. That's the news. Now, here's the analysis. So this is no longer fact-based. This is... No, I'm joking. This is analysis, though, which is subjective, which means it's my opinion. So this is where we're going into is not bam, 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 open facts. It's my analytical assessment based on the evidence I have reviewed, including Western sources and non-Western sources. Even Israeli sources, God, yeah. I've had to read through Israeli sources. Now, Indonesia is a country that does not recognize Israel. Let's start there. They have no formal diplomatic relations, for better or worse. I'm not saying that's a fantastic, respectable thing. Oh my God, you're amazing. I'm not saying that. I'm also not saying it's a bad thing. They have no open security coordination, therefore, with the Israeli state. And my analytical assessment is these troops, these Indonesian soldiers or medics or construction military engineers, they won't make it into Gaza, guys. They're not getting there. If they do make it into Gaza, which is a possibility, we operate on probabilities. I would give it a 15% chance. If they do make it into Gaza, if Israel lets them deploy, actually, into Rafah, potentially even Khan Yunis, it would signal two things have happened. Number one, the US has essentially abandoned Israel. They've dropped them like they're hot in favor of supporting America's other friends and allies in the region that might have actually wanted Gaza to have a stabilization force enter, namely the Gulf monarchies. And number two, it would signal, if Israel let Indonesia's forces in, it would signal that Israel has had to make huge compromises. If Indonesian soldiers are walking around Gaza, mate, Israel can't, let it rip. Israel can't start defending itself against, the aunties and the grandmothers and the little children running about. They can't, get twitchy trigger fingers, can they? Because there's Indonesian soldiers there. That they would be in the way. It's much harder to justify attacking troops of a sovereign nation that can punch you back in the face, because they actually kind of are doing pretty well economically. Indonesia's GDP is about 3.5 times that of the Israeli states. It's a country that has 100, is it 200 million people? And Israel has 9, and some of those 9 are ready to jet to holidays if Iran tries something funny. And some of those 9 are flipping Palestinians, bruv, that are just, barely making ends meet. They're just sort of trudging along. Israel's a glass cannon, right? And you can't just attack Indonesian soldiers. These aren't defenseless, stateless Palestinians, right? So this whole situation is definitely one to keep an eye on. If you see Indonesian soldiers in Gaza at any time, know that Israel has had to make extreme compromises behind the scenes. And all the nations of the region will know that those compromises have been made. And we'll also know it's very, very unlikely Indonesia will tolerate any attack on their troops without actually kinetically responding, potentially. Not that there will be combat soldiers there, but diplomatically it would be a spectacularly negative situation for Israel to be in if they harm or even take out the soldiers of another nation state that's internationally recognized, stabilized, relatively prosperous. So want to keep a very close eye on. I'll keep an eye on it and I'll report more details when I come across them. A final point. Indonesia's President Prabowo Subianto last year said that his country is willing to send 20,000 of their sons to defend Gaza from the disgusting occupation. Sorry, he didn't say that, but he said we're willing to send 20,000 sons to defend Gaza from instability. Yes, let's go with that. We're going to prevent both sides from breaking out into a fight. We're absolutely not biased, us Indonesians. Time will tell if those are words alone or if they can actually be backed by action. And for the unbiased sort of news and analysis without the Western spin, I'm Mahfouz or NewsBaba, and I'll see you on the next one.